It's a tumultuous day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast has just made some new rules changes involving pre-releases and tournaments. On top of that, we have a secret Lair screw-up. Phyrexia All Will Be One is looking rather ratty. And Magic YouTuber channels are being stolen.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The Magic Historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for another crazy installment of Mega Magic News Ultra Jingly Fest. Wait a minute, the shirt's... There's so much green on this shirt. I just realized with the greens, I'm gonna be, oh, check it out. You can see right through me. I'm the most transparent person on YouTube. Oh, okay, so let's dive into the news. Let's start out with the pre-release change because this one really isn't that big a deal overall. It really falls in line with what Wizards of the Coast has been doing, and that is essentially collapsing the concept of pre-releases. Once upon a time, it used to be like this. A pre-release was your only shot at getting Magic early, right? And you could only get your pre-release boosters, and that was it. So maybe you'd get 6 boosters, maybe 12 if you managed to play in 2, something like that, but that was it. And then they changed it and said, you know what, we're gonna let you buy some products, and then they started to add more products, and then it got to the point where I've already said, as far as I'm concerned, there really isn't a pre-release anymore. The only thing to define a pre-release is the pre-release kit. Although technically, up until now, you could also say, well, you're not allowed to use the cards until release. Well, guess what? From now on, you can start using cards from the day of the pre-release. There is no wait a week window before you can use your cards in official capacity. So if you want to go and play in like a big standard tournament the day after the pre-release, or the day of the pre-release actually, then you're good to go. They've changed the rules. So the only thing that makes pre-releases now are the pre-release kits. As far as I'm concerned, it's a full-on release date, right? That out of the way, let's move on to the next item on the list. I actually want to talk about the stolen Magic YouTube accounts because this is a wild situation and has apparently happened to multiple channels in a small span of time. You may have actually seen this occur to other YouTube channels, but what happens is in the blink of an eye, a well-known channel that you watch all the time, you come back to and you're like, whoa, wait, what happened? Where's all the videos? The videos are gone. And then, a moment later, now the channel's changed its name and they've uploaded some scam video. So that's what's happened. I don't know every channel that's affected by this, but the one that I know for sure is Harry MTG. If you go over to where his channel was, you would find straight up a Tesla scam setup. If you haven't seen them before, I mean, you must have seen them in the YouTube ads and stuff now, right? Where the ad starts out, hi, if you haven't heard of me, I'm Elon Musk from Tesla. And then on the screen, it shows like Tesla, and you're just like, oh no. Like it's so scammy. So yeah, this dude who spent years building up his channel has had it just janked out from underneath him. And it goes in multiple steps. It goes like this. First, you lose your account. The scammers take your account. They set it up scam-maliciousness, right? Then this guy manages to actually go through YouTube support, get his account back, right? And then after he's managed to retrieve his account, and I can't even imagine the level of stress involved in this. This is a nightmarish scenario, right? So he manages to get his account back, and then do you know what happens? YouTube bans him. They ban him because of the scam video that was uploaded to his channel. So after he's recovered his channel, then the bots and algorithm, everything finally catches up and goes, scam video, slam it down. And I mean, you understand from YouTube's perspective, there's a million different channels uploading this scam stuff all the time, and most of the time it's brand new channels and YouTube can just crush them. It's much more tricky when you have a pre-established channel that's been around for years. That's a goldmine for these scammers because it gets to fly under the radar for much longer and can accrue thousands and thousands of views, not just from people who are tricked by the scam, but from concerned fans of the channel as well. All of a sudden they're like, yo, why am I subscribed to this channel? You will see an outflow, obviously at the same time. Buddy gets his channel back, minus hundreds and hundreds of subscribers who have bounced. On top of that, you have the situation where you can end up losing all of your videos. So, how does this happen? Well, there's a number of ways. In this case, basically, Buddy got scammed through an email. And you have to understand, as a YouTuber, you get tons and tons of emails asking you to do sponsorship deals and things of that nature. And they all look roughly the same. I mean, some of them are very blatantly like, okay, you're not even a business anybody's heard of. This is clearly a scam. But a lot of them will just use well-known brands and come across as the real deal. I've been in a number of interactions where at a certain point they're like, okay, we just need you to fill out these forms and do that. And that's when I take a step back and go, as soon as you expect me to click on these links to other locations, because I've had multiple sponsorships that didn't require that at all. They didn't require, hey, you have to go and do all this stuff. Now, I have, though, on the other hand, had sponsorships where you did actually go and fill out forms and do everything. So you have to, like, tender what you're doing as an actual full-on offer through their system. It's varying, right? So you can't just go, okay, should have known better, should have known this doesn't happen, because it can go either way. But for me, when it comes to this sort of thing, anytime I get an email that I want to check a link on, I literally send it over to either an old cell phone that I have kicking around, or I have a super old laptop from like 8 years ago that's literally only good for opening emails. All the data from, like, all the personal data from years ago has already been stripped off of it. So it's the place where if somehow you get scammed, you can lock up that laptop, right? So unfortunately, Harry didn't have himself that setup. What happened was he basically goes through this sponsorship setup and gets to the end process. They send him over the contract. The contract is actually where it gets hosed. It's some sort of like screen lock virus, something like that, that takes control of his computer and basically forces him to reformat the whole thing. So on top of having your stuff stolen, you lose all the files you have on your computer. Like, I get this from a deep level, friends. I have had to delete tons and tons of my videos over the years off my computer. There's no space for them. You just keep going. You don't keep a back catalog. And now, if your channel's deleted and all those videos are gone, even if you go, okay, I'm going to set up a new channel, I'm going to get my people to come back, you've lost all of that work, years worth of stuff. Now, I'm hoping that this has a happy ending, because there are ways, as far as I understand, for YouTube to unwind all this. So let's keep our fingers crossed that this will get resolved for people. Anybody who's got a YouTube channel or anything like that of your own, keep in mind, have a separate location to send emails to, where if it locks up that device, you're not hosed. Use some old piece of garbage. Most people, I imagine, have like an old cell phone kicking around from forever ago. You don't have to have a SIM card from it. All you have to be able to do is turn the Wi-Fi on and get your emails on it, right? And just make a brand new email address called "Save Me from Getting Hosed" or something like that, and have like, "Go away, scammers," whatever it is, and just send the emails over there, all right? So I wanted to cover this because it's crazy that it's happening, and also just to give a heads up, because I know a bunch of people who have channels watch me and might not realize, you got to be on the lookout. Multiple YouTube channels have been hit this way, and these scammers are sophisticated. I couldn't tell you, looking on the outside, which emails automatically are and aren't scams. You have to be really, really cautious. Now, let's move on to the secret lair Screwup, friends. So, we talked about this a while back. Dressed to Kill, the secret lair, has actually come out now. So, we were wondering what was going to go on with the Reflector Mage, because when they showed us the Reflector Mage originally, we had a situation where you take a look at it and go, okay, wait a minute. Why does this thing have a legendary frame on it? Why is this thing, like, designed this way when it's not a legendary creature? And if you take a look at the actual printed card, you can see it's the exact same thing going on here. It has the legendary frame. So what's the deal? When we saw this as a digital mock-up months and months ago, it was widely assumed by everybody that this would be fixed. We're not dealing with a situation like Hercule from the Brothers War, where you have two different versions. Oh, look, we've got the extended version and the regular version, and there's no way we didn't even find out until we had printed it, which is really, like, very questionable in the first place. But they can't even use that excuse here, because the digital images were presented all over the place up on the Secret Lair website far in advance, and this stuff is supposed to be print to demand, which means it wasn't all made in advance. So if it wasn't all made in advance, right, then why do we have a situation where this card hasn't been fixed? And it also makes you wonder, what was the Reflector Mage originally supposed to be? It seems very unlikely to me that they just happened to slam a legendary frame on this, right? It was most likely some legendary creature, probably a white-blue one, and at the last minute, they went, you know, we don't want to release that as part of this, because the artwork isn't nailed down to anything specific, right? You tell me, what Magic character in white-blue that you know of has a big old hole in their chest, right? Do you think Augustin has a hole hidden under his robes or something like that? So it's a situation to me where they probably went, yo, let's take this one legendary card out and we'll replace it with this. Maybe they plan to reprint it somewhere else. Maybe they realized that the secondary market value of the card had gone up too much, or maybe gone down too much. Although I figure if it had gone down too much, they'd like, sell it to them anyways, right? But if the secondary market value of a single went too high, I could totally see them being, last second, change it to Reflector Mage. They won't even know. Just change the name, the casting cost, everything like that, and then they don't bother changing the frame or the artwork because they're not paying attention because they're in such a rush. They're making 72 secret layers a year, right? They're like, yo, we're making like almost 2 secret layers a week, son. We ain't got time to look at the images more than once. So this is pretty ridiculous in my opinion. Now let's move on to talking about how ratty Phyrexia All Will Be One is. Take a look at Caramonix, the Rat King. Caramonix is a weird name. It doesn't feel like a rat. It feels like somebody from Strixhaven who's like, I'm really into music, bro. Anyways, what is this guy? 2 black and 1 for a 3/3 legendary Phyrexian rat. That feels good. It's got Toxic 1, so players dealt combat damage by this creature also get a poison counter. Other rats you control have Toxic 1. Now this is a little bit different than your normal rat lords, right? Because a lot of or any lords, most of the lords tend to give big old +1/+1 bonuses and things like that, as opposed to granting the ability to give 1 poison counter. It'd be more interesting if this wasn't legendary and you could have multiple out, but I imagine that would probably accelerate the Toxic too much, and Wizards does have to play it safe with the poison counters, because we did see that Infect became a genuine problem. When you have a 1/1 with Infect and you can cast a bunch of boost spells on it, and all of a sudden it's swinging for 10 for a 1-turn win with 10 poison counters, you do have to go, you know what, maybe we messed up with that one. So I'm expecting that Toxic is going to be more pulled back. I'm not really gonna be surprised if we don't see any sort of completely format-defining Toxic stuff, and it plays more of a background role here where you can have fun with your theme. I mean, it makes sense. Making all your rats Toxic is incredibly flavorful. And all of the rats coming out and following this big, like, half-mechanized Phyrexian rat, does it, like, somehow exert its will over it, or do the rats just respect its raw power? Because it has more ability, too, right? It says when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of rat cards from among them. Put the revealed cards from your hand put the revealed cards into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is a really strong ability. At first blush, when I looked at the card, I went, Toxic 1 gives other rats whatever, 3/3, and then I really started to think about the casting cost and that last ability, and I'm like, whoa. 3 mana can net you a whole bunch of extra rats. If you're playing a rat deck, top 6 cards, even if half of them are lands, for 3 mana, you're getting a 3/3 rat, Toxic 1, makes your other rats Toxic 1, and nets you 3 rats off the top of your deck. If your deck is all rats and lands, like, you can get a lot of card advantage out of this. This digs deep. It makes me think of Lead the Stampede, that green spell. But Lead the Stampede is just a sorcery. This is already stacked onto a body that is significant on its own. A 3/3 for 3 with Toxic 1 is nothing to sneeze at out of the gates. And it's going to replace itself. You're almost guaranteed to get a rat in your top 6 if you're playing with this guy, unless you're playing limited or something, because you're going to be playing a heavy rat theme. Why else would he be in there? I mean, I guess you could theoretically just play it in a Toxic deck too, maybe using him to dig for another copy of himself to protect, but I doubt it's going to ever be that level, right? So, I mean, this is a really cool concept for a legendary, the Rat King. I love it. You know, actually, that makes me think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The artwork is sick, bro. This rat is huge. Think about it. Humans are like 1-1, 2-1 for a really beefy soldier. This thing is 3-3. So it's going to come clattering and creaking all over the battlefield. And look at the poisonous miasma that's all around it. It's standing in what actually makes me think of, are those the necrogen mists from New Phyrexia? It's got that vibe, eh? That's cool. Although I guess this could be theoretically any number of different locations, depending on how far Phyrexia spreads itself. We haven't seen the full-on story, right? Now, my friends, I'm going to tell you something really shocking, at least for some of you. Some of y'all think that I don't love magic deeply, but take a look at this. See this thumbnail? Are you thinking, yo, what is this, an alternate dimension where you're not the magic hate historian and you're full on love and magic? No, it's this dimension. This is a video that I put out today on my other channel. If you didn't know, I've been doing a joyous series of Magic the Gathering openings. I am doing an entire month's worth. 31. So we're on day 20. You can check that out if you'd like. And we got 11 more days coming. So if you want some magical joy, some magical goodness, come on over to my Hatcher channel. I'll be live streaming there today as well. You're welcome to swing on by. Big shout out to all my patrons. Thank you very much for supporting my channel. And I will see you all, my friends, in the next video.